Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal is just one of those making an appearance at CPAC this week, determined to get his message in front of loyal Republicans and make a stand for what might be a run at the presidency in 2016. Before he took to the conference stage, we sat down with the fiery and often controversial Bayou-born governor on a wide-ranging set of points. His concerns over how President Obama is handling the battle against ISIS, what the president's obvious motivations are in the protracted and sometimes laughable negotiations with Iran over their nuclear future. And then there is the matter of 2016. Well, he's thought about it once, and maybe second time around, this could be the lucky number.
I worry that this president's desire to get a deal, even if it's a bad deal, I worry if he wants a bad deal greater than no deal. Let's be clear, a nuclear-armed Iran is a threat not only to Israel and our European allies, it's a threat, an existential threat to the United States as well, and it won't stop with Iran. I believe the Egyptians, I believe Turkey, I believe the Saudis all will want a nuclear weapon as well, and I believe that some of those countries may already have a deal with Pakistan to buy that technology if they need to. So now you've got multiple countries in the Middle East that could be nuclear armed, and what I worry about is that this president's his hesitancy in going all the way in defeating ISIS may be linked, I can't prove that, I suspect it from his actions, his rhetoric, may be linked to his overarching desire to get a deal with Iran. And when you think of the foreign policy threats he's going to leave to his successor, the worst would be either a nuclear-armed Iran or Iran on the verge of becoming a nuclear-armed country. You're talking about a country now that is facing the threat of falling oil prices, could be facing the threat of unified sanctions if our president would lead the way. So I worry that we are now looking at what could be a huge, huge game changer for the Middle East and for world peace and our national security interests. One of the things I think Congress, again, we were talking about what Congress needs to do. I think Congress, it is good that they've invited Netanyahu to come speak, and I think it's ironic. You've got the administration complaining, well, they didn't follow the right protocol. You know, to me, this is silly. This is about, these are incredibly important issues. Israel is our closest ally in the region, an important ally. We should want to hear what their prime minister has to say. But then secondly, in addition to inviting Netanyahu, I think that Congress should insist any deal with Iran needs to be approved by Congress. And third, I think Congress also needs to approve that bipartisan package of stronger sanctions. How amazing is this? Our president is telling a Democratic senator from New Jersey, as well as Republicans, I don't want stronger sanctions against Iran, even though that would strengthen his hand at any negotiating table. So I worry, not only is this about the fight against ISIS and his inability to call out the enemy for what it is, his insistence on bringing up irrelevant topics like the Crusades and other things from centuries ago, it's also about how does this administration deal with the threat of a potentially nuclear-armed Iran. So I think leaders have a responsibility to speak out because we're all going to live with the consequences. This president's messed many things up in our country, from Obamacare to nearly $18 trillion of debt to the EPA fighting private sector job creation to Keystone to amnesty. When you look at the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran, it could be one of his most dangerous legacies if we don't right now try to force him to go back to a better and a more traditional American position when it comes to foreign policy.
Governor, I've only got a couple of minutes left here, so you spoke about leadership and all this. People are still looking ahead to 2016 and the possibility that you may run for president. Let me ask you bluntly, what makes you worthy of being considered as president?
Well, look, I'm certainly thinking and praying about this with my wife, but anybody that wants to be president, I think needs to think about what they would do if they were in that office. We need a president who wants to do something, not be somebody. So I've spent this last year thinking through detailed policies through a group called America Next on foreign policy, on education, on healthcare policy, on energy policy. I think the American people want an outsider away from D.C. to come in and make big changes, not incremental changes. I think, I'm biased, I prefer governors. I think they've run things before. I think they want somebody who's bold enough to tell the truth, even if you get criticized by the left and the media, who will stick to their guns, stick to their conservative principles. I've reduced the size of government in my home state. We've cut our budget 26%, over 30,000 fewer state government employees than the day I took office. As a result, a growing, booming private sector economy. We have also enacted a large income tax cut and other tax cuts. I think we need fiscally conservative leadership in D.C. Most importantly, I think we need somebody who's going to restore the American dream for our children and grandchildren. My parents came here over 40 years ago in search of the American dream. I think they've caught it. My brother and I have been blessed to live it. This president wants to redefine the American dream to be all about redistribution and government growth and government spending. That's not the American dream. The American dream is the circumstances of your birth don't determine your outcomes as an adult. The American dream is that we promise equality of opportunity. If you're willing to work hard, if you want to get a great education, there's no limit to what you can do in this great country. We promise freedom and opportunity to all that live here. And so regardless of whether we get in or not, we're going to make that decision over the next couple of months. I think we need to make sure we win this election. It's not optional, and it's not because of our party affiliation or being conservatives or being Republicans. It's for the sake of our country. This president's in the process of bankrupting our country financially, morally, our foreign standing. We need to get this country back on the right path. I don't think it's too late, but I think this is a critical election.
Governor Jindal, you've answered just about every question we possibly have at this point, but we will be asking you again very soon when you're going to announce that. You're not going to do it anytime soon, though, correct? Very quickly?
No, we're going to take the next couple of months, next few months to continue to think about what we would do to look and pray about this and to think about, do I have something unique to bring to this this campaign? Would I have something unique by perspective, by experience, by policies to bring to that office? I don't think anybody should look at this in terms of polling or fundraising or political consultants. I think somebody thinking about running needs to really think about what they would do. And I would encourage, I'm glad the Republican Party has a deep bench. I would encourage folks that are thinking about doing this to get in. I hope voters can vote for somebody, not against them. I mean, the final thing I'll say is I don't think our voters want the establishment, want the donors, want the media to try to clear the field or select our nominee. Let's have an open contest. Let's have the debates. Let's have voters. Let's give them a chance to pick who they want to vote for. I think for too long we've allowed the insiders to play too big of a role in this process. So I think the good news for the Republican Party is we've got a very, very deep bench this time.
A couple of other quick political notes that we want to pass on to you today because so much is happening here. First of all, inside the Beltway, we just want to bring you up to speed. The U.S. Senate, by the way, did pass their bill to fund Homeland Security. That is through September the 30th with no immigration restrictions. We're still waiting for the House vote later on today. That will decide whether or not the Department of Homeland Security actually gets its funding and the government does not have to shut down at midnight tonight. Also, Eric Holder has done a very interesting exit interview with the folks at Politico, where he has said that one of the things that he would like to see is for the bar to be lowered on civil rights offenses so that federal prosecutors can make easier cases. He is specifically talking about what has happened here in the last year with Martin, Brown, so many others. That's going to have a lot of people talking. And also what will have a lot of people talking is Jeb Bush when he takes the stage at CPAC. We are monitoring what's happening right now at the conference. When Jeb Bush takes the stage, and he is scheduled to do so within about the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to go live and we're going to hear what Jeb Bush has to say. This, as some people say, that they're going to stage a silent protest, members of the Tea Party, and they will stand up politely and walk out when the governor comes to the stage. All right, speaking of presidential issues, immigration, a linchpin deciding who will be in Pennsylvania Avenue in 2 years. The president's action, widely unconstitutional. Attitudes towards immigrants have hardened. Let's talk to someone who heard the president speak. That's coming up next.